that is the title of the sermon. But I'm going to begin my meditation with a poem that was on my Facebook, put up there by Carmen Vasquez, who is a secular LGBT activist in Washington, D.C. It's now on the Woodhull Sexual Freedom Conference website, if you want to find it. But this is what she says. She wrote it shortly after the mass murders in Orlando, Florida, in June of this year. Hate, 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 everywhere. Hates against gays, hates against women, hate against Muslims, hate against Hillary, hate against Obama, hate against immigrants, hate. Hate of white people for black people, hate of Jews for Palestinians, hate of Palestinians for Jews, hate. Hate of ISIS, hate of Republicans, hate of Christian ministers against homosexuals, hate of homosexuals, hate of other, hate of difference, hate of the people that want to make the America that Donald Trump and his legions of neighbors want us to take back to, them to, hate. Langston Hughes once implored us, begged us, to let America be the country that never has been, but yet must be. We will never be that country if we don't admit and confront the hatred that fuels violence. I applaud and support the calls for gun control. It will mean fewer deaths of people whose only crime is to be hated by someone. I support the calls for taking mental health seriously because more people will be helped to deal with the demons of hate, internal and externalized, that drive them to violence. But it won't end violence, because you can't legislate hate or homophobia or transphobia or sexism or Islamophobia or the hatred of Jews or the hatred of black people, because you can't legislate hate out of existence, just as you can't legislate homophobia or sexism or racism out of existence. There is a conversation all about our culture of hate and otherness we need to engage in as a nation. It is important to remember the words of Lin-Manuel Miranda at the Tony Awards, who said, "Love is love, is love, is love, is love, is love." But it's more important to live them in our daily lives, in our interactions with strangers, in our interactions with family who don't know us or love us yet, in our political work. Like most of my friends, I have been crying for days, crying for Orlando and sisters and brothers, Latino and black, who were massacred, not just by a gun, but by hatred. We desperately need something beyond the policy remedies offered by gun control and the ubiquitous, if you see something, say something, platitudes of law enforcement. They haven't worked and they never will. We need a love movement, a humanity movement, a human rights movement in America, a movement that embraces and fights furiously for the fundamental right of all human beings. This includes the right for housing and safety and meaningful employments and reproductive choice and the right to free expression of our sexuality. Civil rights laws and legislative remedies will never be enough. Changes in gun control will be but a salve. Hate crime laws haven't ended hate crimes. They never will. We need a culture change, a big one. We need our justice ministers and our cultural warriors and our political activists to make America the land that has not yet been. We need to fight for the universal affirmations of our human rights in America now. We need a revolution of hope and love, a commitment to defend workers who are losing their jobs, a commitment to defend women against rape and the ongoing assault on our reproductive rights, a commitment to end the hatred of racism, a commitment to defend LGBT people from the hatred that keeps killing us, a commitment to defend and protect black lives everywhere, a commitment to have that conversation with people who disagree with us as progressives but might be willing to join us against a culture of hate. We need a different conversation, people, a very different conversation. End of Carmen's assessment of where we are. She wrote, we need a revolution of love and hope. Where is this revolution, love revolution, to begin, if not here with us? Where is the hope to come from? Where is the vision For the psalmist says, or the Proverbs writer says, without a vision, the people will perish. Where is the vision, folks? Carmen has it, but she doesn't know where it's going to come from. I chose Romans 12 for a glimmer of what this revolution might look like. It's in your bulletin. It is the Apostle Paul's vision of how we get there. He writes in the first verse, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Let love be genuine. Hate what is evil, hold fast to what is good, love one another with mutual affection, outdo one another in showing honor. Do not lag in zeal, be ardent in spirit, serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope, be patient in suffering, persevere in prayer, contribute to the needs of the saints, extend hospitalities to strangers, bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Do not claim to be wiser than you are. Do not repay anyone evil for evil, but take thought for what is noble in the sight of all. If it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. I want to suggest today, this revolution begins now, in our individual lives, in our personal homes, in this congregation. When Paul is talking about transformed by the renewal of our minds, that is code for revolution. It's a love revolution, y'all. Now, it's a lot of work, this love-making work. It's not just a feeling, and it's not just the words. It's the actions. And it's hard for us not to conform to the pessimism and the cynicism and the despair that is the characteristics, are the characteristics of the world. It's hard to renew our minds about love so we can love as we ought. But to succeed in transforming ourselves and the world, now we're talking a love revolution. Yo. But before we get to a love revolution, we need to look at this glass. Which is it? Half empty or half full? Now, I'm going to suggest to you that Christianity may have gotten some things wrong and instead taken up the negative side of the world when we have emphasized sin and sins of the flesh, when we have emphasized our drastic need for an external Savior for the sinners that we are. Such a teaching is saying the glass is half empty. It focuses on the original sin of our disobedience in the Garden of Eden, when in fact we would be better served, according to theologian Matthew Fox, to focus instead on the original blessing. For that is an equal reality, probably far more important. The glass is half full, originally blessed. Humanity was created for life in the garden, a sensual garden that we worked and took care of, taken care of. When in the evening we walk with the divine, as watch the sunset, and talk with the divine before we sleep in this garden. According to the Genesis 1, the glass is half full. It's also in a different creation story in Genesis 2. This is the paradise that the Genesis writers depict is a place of safety, a place of love, a place of trusting, a place to live in our skin, in our bodies, on the earth. The Genesis writer says we are made in the image of the divine. All of us, every part of us. And according to the astronomers, that very chemical that makes us, that is divinely inspired and divinely created, these bodies are the same chemicals that are found in the stars themselves. Yes, our bodies are made out of stardust. Take that in, all of you who are created in the image of God. The glass is half full. Genesis says it. The Apostle Paul says it when he talks about transformation. Jesus said it when he talked about the golden rule and the greatest commandment and the second greatest commandment. It's all about love. The love revolution begins when we realize and begin to live out the glass is half full. We are made for more than the world tells us. We are made for more than we have settled for. Now, I must confess, I don't know what to do about hate. I have no antidotes for it, but I do have ideas for that which propels it. And most of what undergirds hate is insecurity and fear. And there's plenty of that. And that creates hateful backlashes, insecurity and fear. And it rests on one single premise: scarcity. There's not enough. There's not enough. So I got to get mine before they get it. I got to get it protected. And the second premise that goes with scarcity is we're in this by ourselves. The glass is half empty, according to a scarcity principle, which fuels hatefulness and hate in our culture. But we are an Easter people. We know that love triumphs over our deepest fears. Love reaches into the deepest shadows of our lives, even in the valley of the shadow of death itself. Love is there. Because we know love is abundant and love is sufficient. We know God's faithfulness, right? We will not be abandoned or forsaken. That is revolutionary in this world of cynicism. We have each other. That is the message of the church. The family of God, the body of Christ. Now, Diana Bass, I just finished her book, Grounded, Finding God in the World. She's a theologian, and she tells the story of an entire community that is beginning to live out a different reality now. And it is one that contradicts the world's message. Now, this revolution is not in the church as much as it's in the homes and the local community. And the message is we are in this together. We can take care of one another. The town is Northampton, Massachusetts. And she writes that the communion bread is homemade. The wheat is grown there, it is harvested there, it is milled there, and it is baked there. She says there is a domestic awakening, a spiritual revolution taking place in farms and homes and small shops, led by people growing organic crops, raising livestock, brewing beer, making jewelry, weaving cloth, making clothes. Northampton's downtown is abuzz. Dozens and dozens of local businesses are part of a regional revival. Entrepreneurs have fostered vitality through creativity and attention to the local, not opting for quick fixes or sacrificing the environment for financial expansion. People are chatting about New England's new culture, a kind of a new old way of life. The old are the domestic arts, local farming, and crafts linked with new technologies and informed by postmodern sensibilities, a commitment to ecological sustainability, and a protest against this concentration of wealth by corporations and the global elites. And it is not just in New England. The domestic awakening is underway across North America with profound, deeply spiritual ramifications. What does a love revolution look like? It looks like a community that takes care of every member, regardless of their abilities or the tone of their skin or the person whom they love or the size of their wallet. Everyone is valued and all contribute their part, for all are necessary. It is a community that takes care of the earth, the garden, and engages in ecologically sound, sustainable practices. It creates meaningful work and values everyone. The idea that the glass is half empty encourages alienation. It encourages distrust and fear, distrust of difference. Yet Northampton, Massachusetts is showing it doesn't have to be that way. We can love one another by converting hostilities into hospitalities, according to theologian Henry Nouwen. He writes, "Fearful strangers can become guests. Guest and host can reveal their most precious gifts and bring new life to others. The term hospitality, therefore, should not be limited to its literal sense of receiving a stranger into a home, but as a fundamental attitude toward our fellow human being. Hospitality. The love revolution requires hospitality. Open arms, open doors, open hearts, as our United Methodist denominational friends say. But there's one more piece of the paradox. We've got to get beyond the glass is half empty or the glass is half full. Both of those can be interpreted as real. We have to search within each one of our hearts. Is there a tiny bit in our heart that says we don't deserve love? That maybe God has everybody else but not us? Is there a piece in us that says I'm not worthy, I can't accept it, I'm too sinful? Can we wake up every morning and rejoice that there is plenty of love to go around? All we have to do is open our own spigot. Can we do that? Because that is hospitality. We have to get to that point of understanding it's more than just the glass is half empty or the glass is half full. We have to get to the point where we trust God's love is enough, and it's abundant, and it's there waiting for us. Filled to overflowing. Abundant. Do you believe it? For you? For us? For this time and place? No ending. Plenty of love. Plenty of hospitality in the arms of God. We have to absorb that and believe it 100%. Because if we can, then we change the world. Then we have a love revolution. Now, there is a story of a woman in the Bible who had been told that she was deficient. And because she knew she was loved, she did not believe it. This is found in the verse 5 and 6 of Song of Songs. She had someone in her life who loved her, who appreciated every square inch of her body, every bit of her spirit. And she says in that verse, I am blackened by the sun, but still I am beautiful. She was filled with love and acceptance for herself, because she had felt abundant love from the body of another person. She was loved by her beloved. The beloved can be a metaphor for the divine, or it can be a metaphor for the beloved community, as Martin Luther King talked about it. It can be the beloved of someone special in your life, a friend, a spouse, a lover. Know it, take it in, do not reject it. I think she sings a song, and this is the song for the love revolution. This is the song of songs, comes from deep inside of me. This is the song of songs, my beloved sings to me. When I believe that I am beautiful, then I know that love is possible. Our hearts will open, for love comes from within. This is the song of songs, I give it to each one of you. This is the song of songs, I know that you believe it's true. For when we believe that we are beautiful, then we know that love is possible. Our hearts will open, for love comes from within. When we believe that we are beautiful, that's when we know that love is possible. Our hearts will open, for love comes from within. This song of songs, this song of love, see it in you, feel it from me. Beloved, embrace this love timeless. It all begins within you. It all begins within. When we believe that we are beautiful, that's when we know that love is possible. Our hearts will open, for love comes from within. May the revolution begin now, this place, y'all.